So today we're gonna go visit the bees. We're gonna see how they're doing. There's lots of bees right now, and they're gonna be quite crazy when I go in there. So we're gonna smoke them, which that makes them think there's a fire, and that they're gonna have to collect all the good stuff from their hive and take off with it soon if the fire gets worse. And so the bees, the queen, when she smells smoke, she starts panicking, and all the bees panic, and they go and they gorge themselves on all the honey that they can so they can take it with them if they have to suddenly leave. I'm gonna open up the top, and oh yeah, we're full of bees, lots of bees. So this is a queen excluder, and so the space on here is a little bit too big for the queen to fit through, and so this prevents her from getting into the top of the hive where we collect our honey from that we're going to extract from the hive afterwards. So we don't want the queen to get up there because she'll lay eggs in our honey, and that'll be pretty gross. We don't want a bunch of bee larvae in our honey. So these bees are busy filling this up with honey. So every time I pull out a frame, I just check and make sure that I'm looking for the queen, because I don't want her to get out of the hive, and I don't want to squish her. So if you look at that, that's all capped honey, which probably quite delicious. So you can see the bees are in there. They've been smoked, so they're mostly focused on eating honey right now. They're all gorging themselves. If we give them a few more minutes though without smoke, they're gonna wake up from their current algorithmic loop and realize that their hive is under attack and probably start getting stingy. So this frame is completely loaded with honey, like completely. So this is good for the bees in that they'll have lots for the winter, but also not so good in that the bees aren't filling up the top where we kind of want them to fill up, and it takes away from the space that they have to rear more bees. So I actually don't like to see too much of this right now. I prefer to see that the queen is laying in these areas rather than the bees completely loading their entire hive with honey. It's what we call a honey bound, in that if the bees fill up their hive so much with honey that there's nowhere for the queen to lay eggs anymore, then the hive will start to deteriorate as well, because bees essentially at this time of year last for about 45 days max, probably less. They're just really working themselves to death, and the queen needs to keep producing more bees. If you look closely, there's also quite a few drones here. So these are kind of the bigger bees. Those are the male bees. Since it's kind of June and this is the time when bees are mating, the healthy hives will make a lot of drones so that the drones can go and impregnate or provide sperm to the queens, new queens, so that new hives can start. As soon as the end of the summer starts to come around, late July, the bees will kick out the drones. So these are the only males in the hive. All the rest are females, and they really do nothing other than eat honey and mate with queens. So they're pretty useless, and they get kicked out at the end of the year to go and die, essentially. All right, so what do we got going on here? There's the queen. I spotted her right there. So she's very large, running around. She looks very good. She looks healthy. There are eggs in all these frames, I believe, by a quick look. This is pollen they're collecting on the edges. So it's various different colors, and they're going to use that to feed to the bee larvae as they go. So I'm just looking right now to see if I can see any eggs in here, and I do. So lots of larvae. This is good. It means the hive is healthy and still growing. You can see that there's lots of larvae there inside. So those are bees now being raised. So the queen has laid an egg a few days ago. It's been fed by the nurse bees, and so once the larvae are growing enough, then they cap off the cells, and then they metamorphosize into the bees that we see here. There's a bee hatching right there. I don't know if we're going to be able to see it. They're kind of walking all over it, but he's eating his way out right now. For the first while of their lives, the bees will spend their time in the hive raising other bees, collecting honey from the foraging bees that are out, and then as the bees mature, they become foragers for the last phase of their lives. And essentially during that time, they're just working themselves, collecting until they die. So essentially, the bees are collecting in Vancouver from the beginning of March, when the apple and cherry blossom trees get going, and it's warm enough for them to be outside, right through till sometime in September. Right now there's probably blackberries out and other things, but there'll be forage for them for a good at least 5 months in Vancouver, if not longer. And so the springtime honey is usually these fruit tree honeys. It's pretty light. Summertime's kind of a mixture of a whole bunch of things. And then when I have gotten stuff separately in the fall before, it's usually like this really dark, almost molasses-like honey. I'm not really sure what it is that they're collecting then. But. So summertime though, we do have a lot of trees that get eaten by aphids. And so you see like there's all this little, usually sap all over the roads and all over the car and everything. And so that's the aphids eating the trees. And aphids eat trees, they poop out sugar water. It's called honeydew. And so the bees actually will go and collect that from the aphids, and they bring it back to the hive and they spit it back up and make honey. So some of the honey that we get in the summertime is actually aphid poop that's been eaten by a bee and puked back up. So delicious. Okay, now that I pissed off all the bees, a lot, this is a lesson in how to make bees very angry at you. Alright, here goes my back again. Up we go. And since this is mostly full of honey, add on more, and they make us more honey. Thank you guys, keep up the good work.